Okay, but hopefully my voice is clear to all of you, right? And I think the screen is now also available for you guys, right? Is that visible, Bacho?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. So, Bacho, as you know that we were talking about moles in the previous classes, and the one who is not in the previous class, so you will be provided the recorded lectures of first two classes of moles. Don't worry about that. We are just talking about the basics of moles in the previous classes, and today we are moving towards that step number 3, right? So what we were talking about in the last classes, but you know that the first thing, you know that if the examiner gave you the mass, for example, if the examiner gave you the mass and asked for moles, so we know that we can use the formula for moles, that if the mass is given to you, you can divide it by the molecular mass or the atomic mass or the formula mass, whatever given to you. By that, you will get the number of moles, right? You know this. This is a single step reaction. So this is the single step process. You can find out the moles by mass simply. And even if the mass is not given and they gave you the moles and ask for the mass, so you can write this formula for mass as well. You can set this MR towards the moles, you will get the mass as well. This is the simple. You can find out mass from moles event and you can find out moles from mass event, right? So this is the simple thing you learned in the first class. And then, for example, examiner gave you the volume of any gas. This is the volume of any gas given to you in centimeter cube or in decimeter cube. You can find out the number of moles, right? If examiner asks you the moles from the volume of any gas, you can find out, like, sir, we can do this, that if you want to find out moles from the volume in decimeter cube, we know that any gas at room temperature and pressure, it consists of 24 decimeter cube volume. So we can divide it by 24 and we will get the number of moles. And if the volume is given in the centimeter cube, so we can divide it by 24,000 to get the number of moles. And same as it is, if the examiner gave you the moles and they ask for the volume of any gas in centimeter cube or in decimeter cube, so you know that you can multiply moles with 24,000 for the volume in centimeter cube. And if you want to find out in decimeter cube, so you can simply multiply moles with 24. These all are single step processes, right? It is for 1 mark in exam, right? You can do this for 1 mark, 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 right? But definitely in the exam, these type of questions are not going to be give you, right? Why? Because in exam, we have multiple step process, right? So you know that in the second class, we learn about 2-step processes. For example, if the mole is given to you, for example, this is mole, right? You know that, Bacho, you can move from moles to mass, right? You know that. And you know this, that you can move from mass to moles as well, right? This is a single step. You know this, that mass over MR formula can be used over here. And even you know that if you talk about volume of gases, remember this is volume of gases. So you can find out moles from volume of gases, and even you can find out volume of any gas by moles. So this is the connection of mass and volume. If the examiner going to give you the mass, right, you can find out what moles by the formula mass over MR, right? Once you get the moles, you can find out the volume as well by multiplying moles with 24 or 24,000, whatever you are doing for. For example, if you are doing for centimeter cube, so you can multiply moles with 24,000. And if you are going to find out the volume in decimeter cube, so you can multiply it by 24. This is a 2-step process. You can even find out volume of gas from the masses, right? Or for example, if you want to find out mass from the volume, if the volume is given to you and you want to find out what mass. So you need to understand this. First of all, you need to move towards moles. Moles is actually the center part of every question. So you need to remember this. The volume is given to you. You can divide volume by 24 for if the volume is in decimeter cube, right? Or if the volume is in centimeter cube, so you can divide it by 24,000 to get the number of moles. Once you get the number of moles, you can find out the mass by multiplying moles with the MR of that species that is given to you. This is the 2-step process that you learned in the second class. Now we are moving towards the next class, which is the class number 3, and you are moving towards the step number 3, which is very, very, very important and very essential for the exam pattern questions, right? And this is the equations, right? The calculation related to equations. Now, let's move towards, this is level 3, right? This is level 3 questions, right? For the moles. For example, bacho, the question is, I am starting with example so you can understand it better, right? For example, if I have a sodium, right? And I am adding this sodium into the water. You know this, you learn this in O levels. Whenever you add any group 1 metal into the water, you will get what? Hydroxide of that metal along with the hydrogen gas, right? This is the equation for any metal from group number 1 when added in water, even in the cool water. If you have cool water, if you have a water with I7, so it is going to be happen because sodium or any other element from the group 1 is highly reactive, too much reactive. They can react with cold water as well, right? So right now, this is the reaction, right? You know this in O levels, and I told you in today's class as well, just for your revision. But you need to remember, bacho, if you are talking about calculation from equations, so you must have a balanced chemical equation. You must have a balanced chemical equation. So write down the balanced chemical equation right now. So for example, if you have 2 plus 1, 3 hydrogens over here, first of all, you need to even the hydrogen over here. So just write 2 over here. Now you can see this, you have 2 hydrogen and 2, total 4 hydrogens over here. So for the balancing of hydrogen over here, you just write 2 over here. You can see this, the hydrogen is balanced now, right? You have 2 oxygens over here and you have 2 oxygen over here as well. So oxygen is already balanced. You don't need to balance over here again for oxygen. The only thing which is not balanced over here is sodium. So I am just writing 2 over here to balance the sodium as well. Now, this is the balanced chemical equation. Sometime examiner gave you the balanced chemical equation, but you can say that not sometime, most of the time examiner gave you the balanced chemical equation. If the equation is not given to you, so you need to write the equation as well, and you need to balance that as well by your own, right? So that is why I'm just writing and balancing in front of you, right? So for example, examiner gave you, but so what? Examiner gave you 50 gram sodium. Examiner gave you 50 grams of sodium, and they are asking what? They are asking the volume in centimeter cube produced of hydrogen. Now, this is something very tricky. You just look at over here. You need to realize the question, what they are saying and what you are going to do, right? First of all, you need to realize what's going to be happen. They gave us mass of sodium, and they are saying this sodium is going to be added in water, right? When you add the sodium into the water, there is something going to be react over there. When the reaction happen over there, the one of the product is gas, and which is hydrogen gas. Now they're asking what is the volume which is going to be produced when 50 gram of sodium is going to be reacted. So such type of questions, whenever examiner gave you, remember my 3 points, right? Remember my 3 steps. But so this always for 3 marks. This question is always for 3 marks. So remember the steps for this solution, right? The first step is always, it is always, but so what? It is always about, it is always about moles, right? First step should be moles, right? सबसे पहले आपने moles calculate करने हैं. The first step is moles. इसके अलावा आप कहीं जाएंगे, सबसे पहले आपने moles मालूम कर, ठीक है ना? So if you focused over here in the question, so what is given to you, बच्चों? The question gave you this, only this. This is given to you, right? And nothing else. You have just 50 grams of sodium right now. So the given to you is mass. Mass is given to you, right? So you can find out the moles by mass. You know that, sir. It's very simple for us to find out the moles over here. We know that moles can be found out by mass over MR, right? MR is the mass of 1 mole of any substance, right? Right now we have sodium, so the mass of sodium is 23. 1 mole का mass जो है sodium का बच्चों वो 23 है. 23 is actually atomic mass of sodium, and atomic mass is actually what? The mass of 1 mole of any element, right? So this is 23. So you know that what you need to do, 50 gram is given to you and 23 is actually atomic mass of sodium. So when you divide mass by atomic mass, you will get the number of moles of sodium. Right now, how many number of moles of sodium we have, Bacho? We have
2.174.
2.174. Very good. 2.174 moles of sodium. This is what? Moles of sodium. Right. But right now we are not concerned with the sodium. Actually, the problem is the volume of hydrogen gas. So if you want to find out the volume of hydrogen gas, so you must have the moles of hydrogen gas as well. But right now in the question, it is just only given to you the mass of sodium, and the mass of sodium given to you is definitely the moles of sodium you have, right? But you need to change these moles into the moles of gas, which is hydrogen gas right now. So for this, remember my second step. The second step is the relation, right? You need to relate sodium and hydrogen. Remember, how can you make a relation? Remember this word, given with required. You need to make a relation between the one which is given to you and the one which is required from you, right? So what is given to you, Bacho? The sodium is given to you. The mass of sodium is given to you. And what is required from you? The required is hydrogen gas. They are asking for the volume of hydrogen gas, right? So you just need to do these two things. The water is not used over here. The sodium hydroxide is not going to use in the relation, because this is not our task to do. We don't need to find out the mass. We don't need to find out the volume of sodium hydroxide and water. So we are not going to connect them with sodium or hydrogen. Remember, if you are well organized with what you are going to find out, then that means you are going to do the correct calculation, right? So sodium is given to you and hydrogen is going to be find out. So that is why we are taking relation between these two things, right? Now, first of all, you need to talk about the relation according to equation. If you focus about the equation, just look at over here. 2 moles of sodium reacting to form 1 mole of hydrogen. Definitely it is not written over here, but you need to remember it is 1, right? So when there's no number before any substance, so definitely it is 1, right? So you can see this, sir, 2 moles of sodium reacting and it is producing 1 mole of hydrogen. It is fixed from the equation. Now you need to find out for what? You need to find out if you have 2.174 moles of sodium, so what will be the moles of hydrogen going to be produced? It's pretty simple for you. You can send x towards this and you can send 2.174 towards it. You will see that 2x is equals to 2.174. And if you want to find out the value of x, so you can divide 2.174 by 2. So what will be the answer, Bacho? Yes, what is the answer?
1.087.
1.087. This is what? This is x. And what is x? We know that we are going to do relation just to find out the moles of hydrogen. Now, just look at over here. The moles of the mass of sodium is given to you. You find out the moles of sodium, then you find out the relation. And after the relation, you will get the moles of hydrogen produced by 2.174 moles of sodium. Now it's pretty simple for you. You get the number of moles of hydrogen. Now you can simply find out the volume of hydrogen gas. So the volume of hydrogen gas can be found out by the formula. We know that volume in centimeter cube can be found out by moles into 24,000. So simply you can multiply 1.087 by 24,000. You will get the volume in centimeter cube. So what will be the volume, Bacho?
Sir, 26,088.
26,088,
Sir.
This is the volume you are going to find out by this question. So you can see this. It is a simple question for you if you are doing just 3 steps. अगर आप इनके 3 steps कर लोगे बच्चों, the 3 steps are what? three steps like this. First of all, you need to find out moles. Every time you need to find out moles first. Then you need to find out the relation, and then you need to find out the third species that you need to find out. And it is variable, right? They can ask for MR as well. They can ask for moles. They can ask for volume as well. They can ask for concentration as well, and many of the other things they can be asked, right? So right now we are just familiar with the volume and mass, so that is why I'm just doing this for volume right now. Definitely after this you are going to understand what is concentration, and we will do it for concentration as well, right? But is that clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Any problem?
No, sir.
So that means we can do one more example for that, and the example is going to be solved by you guys, right? For example, I'm giving you one reaction. For example, we have iron oxide, and iron oxide is reacting with carbon monoxide to form 2 iron and 3 carbon dioxide molecules, right? So for example, bacho, if I gave you what 100 grams of iron oxide, and I'm asking to calculate the volume of carbon dioxide in decimeter cube, right? So can you solve this, bacho?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's try. Just try to solve this and send me the solution on my WhatsApp so I can check, are you doing it good or not? If you feel something, so you can ask, right? On my WhatsApp, or you can unmute your mic and you can ask, right? Okay, so bacho, when we move towards the next formula of moles, it is about number of particles, right? It is about number of particles. Now you need to remember this. For example, if you have 1 mole of any atom, if you have 1 mole of any atom, but so remember this, it has always 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of atoms. It always have this number of atoms, which is known as Avogadro constant. This is actually Avogadro constant, right? So it is actually the scientist Avogadro who did very well about the particles. So they are going to inform us that if you have 1 mole of any atom, so all the time in that atom you will have that 1 mole of atom, you will have 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of atoms in 1 mole of any atom, right? For example, if you have 1 mole of sodium, so definitely you will have 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of sodium atoms over there. So just think about it, that how small the atom is. You just have 1 mole of sodium, and we know that 1 mole of sodium means you have 23 grams of sodium. If you have 23 grams of sodium, so you will have 6.023 10 raised to the power 23. That means if you put 23 zeros in front of 6, you will have total 64 digits, right? 64 digits. So just think about it. Just realize that how many atoms we have. That is why the atom is very small. We cannot see the atom by even microscopes, right? It is very, very tiny particle, right? So just think about it, that if you have 1 mole of sodium, you will have 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of sodium, or any other element like this. So for example, if you talk about oxygen, so 1 mole of oxygen, for example, 1 mole of oxygen atom, right now I'm talking about atom, so it will have 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of oxygen atoms. And you need to understand this, that oxygen atomic mass is 16. So 16 gram oxygen if you have, so you will have 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of oxygen atoms over there. It is too high, the number of atoms over there in just 16 gram. So just feel this, that the atom is very small, very, very small, right? So you need to remember this. Then secondly, for example, if you have 1 mole of any molecule, if you have 1 mole of any molecule, so remember this, the same number of particles over there, but only for molecules. So it is for number of molecules. For example, what I am saying, for example, if you have 1 mole of carbon dioxide, if you have 1 mole of carbon dioxide, or for example, if you have 1 mole of chlorine gas, so you will have, but to what? You will have 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of molecules of carbon dioxide. This is not atom. This is number of molecules of carbon dioxide. And if you talk about this, so it has 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of molecules of chlorine gas. Now this is not atom. This is molecules of chlorine gas, right? This is chlorine molecule. For example, if you talk about the molecule of chlorine, so it will be like this: two chlorines joined together by a covalent bond, right? So this is the molecule of chlorine. So you will have these molecules, 6.023 10 raised to the power these molecules, right? And if you focus over there, so you have two atoms in each molecule. You have two atoms in each molecule. So if you want to find out the atoms of chlorine, simply you can do this. If you want to find out the number of atoms of chlorine over there in that molecule, so you can multiply your answer with 2. So even you can get the number of atom as well. And if you want to do for this, you can multiply your answer with 3, because we know that we have 3 atoms in one molecule over here. So you can find out even number of atom as well, right, bacho?
Yes, sir.
So this should be clear in your mind now, that if you are going to find out the number of moles of molecules, so in the molecules you will have Avogadro constant number of molecules over there, right? And if you want to find out the number of atoms in that molecule, so you need to multiply with the number of atom in each molecule over there, right? For example, if you have methane, bacho, so you need to understand this. The methane is CH4, and it is given to you, for example, 1 mole of methane. So 1 mole of methane will have 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of molecules. It has number of molecules. But if you want to find out the number of atom in this, so you need to multiply this with 5, because you know that in each molecule of methane you will have 5 atoms, right? So this will be the number of atoms in the methane molecule, right, bacho? Is that right, bacho?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then, for example, if you talk about compounds, for example, if you have compounds, now, so if you talk about compounds, bacho, so for example, you have 1 mole of NaCl. For example, you have 1 mole of NaCl. If you have 1 mole of NaCl, so we know that in the NaCl we have 1 sodium ion and 1 chloride ion. So you will have 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 sodium ions over there, right? And same as it is, you have 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 chloride ions over there. If you want to find out the total, so you need to understand this. You have 2 into 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of ions over there, if you want to find out total, right? And for example, if you have, for example, 1 mole of sodium sulfate, if you have 1 mole of sodium sulfate, so you need to remember this, bacho, you have 2 sodium ions in each mole of sodium sulfate. So if you want to find out the sodium ions, you need to understand this. You need to multiply 2 with 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 for sodium ions. And if you want to find out sulfate, so it is simple. Each compound of each molecule of sodium sulfate having only 1 sulfate. So you can simply say that, sir, it has 23, 6.023 10 raised to the power 23 number of sulfate ions. And if you want to find out total, so you know that in each molecule of sodium sulfate, you have 3 different ions. So you can find out the total number of ions by multiplying the Avogadro constant by 3. Is that right, bacho?
सर एक सवाल है
जी बेटे, पूछें।
सर सल्फेट में मल्टीप्लाई बाय 5 नहीं होगा
नहीं, अगर आपको एटम्स निकालने होंगे तो मल्टीप्लाई बाय 5 होगा ना. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट आइंस. सल्फेट का पूरे आइन की बात कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. If you want to find out the atoms in sulfate, that is something else, right? If you want to find, this is the number of sulfate ions. This is the number of sulfate ions present in that molecule. और आपको अगर चाहिए, for example, if you want to find out the number of atoms present in sulfate, so you can multiply it with 5, right?
तो सर हमने सोडियम में 2 क्यों किया?
Sodium में 2 इसलिए किया because you can see this ना, if you have sodium sulfate, so you can see this, the whole sodium sulfate having 2 sodium ions, right? Sodium is 2 sodium ions. This is sodium ion, and right now you have 2 sodium ions. But sulfate is a overall ion. This is a molecular ion, right? So all the time, whenever sulfate is going to be formed, it always have 1 sulfur and 4 oxygen together to form a single sulfate ion, right? But sodium is elemental ion. It is a single ion, right? Right? Okay, one more example. For example, we have ammonium sulphate. This is a molecular ion, ammonium phosphate, right? Just look at over here. What is ammonium? Ammonium is always formed when N and H form together, and they will be +1 always, right? This is ammonium ion. And if you talk about phosphate, so it is always by the combination of 1 phosphorus and 4 oxygen. So if you want to find out the ammonium ions over there, so you need to multiply 3 with 6.023 10 raised to the power 23. You will get the number of ammonium ions over there. Just look at over here. What I write over here, NH4 plus the ions, right? And if you want to find out the phosphate ion, so it is only 1 in each molecule. So it is 10 raised to the power 23 phosphate ions, right? And if you want to find out total, so you need to multiply the value with 4. Right, Bacho? You will get the number of total ions.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's talk about some example questions. If you want to do some examples, so let's see what are the examples saying to you. This is all about the basics that I want to tell you, and I told you everything about this, the basics. So let's talk about some questions. For example, if I gave you, Bacho, what? For example, if I gave you 10 grams of carbon, 10 gram of carbon. I just gave you 10 gram of carbon, and I just want to find out what the number of atoms present over there. I just want to find out number of atoms of carbon over there. So you can simply see this. This is carbon, and carbon is element. It is a single form. It is in the individual form. So it is element, right? So first of all, we need to find out moles, because without moles, we cannot find out the number of atoms. So we know that. How can we find out moles? By grams. So we know that it is the mass over mR, and we know that mass is given to you as 10, and the mR of each carbon is 12. So what is the number of moles for this? So we know that if you want to find out the moles for this, it is 10 divided by 12. It is 0.833, right? So we have actually 0.833 moles of carbon right now. So we can find out the number of atoms simply. We know that if you want to find out the number of atoms of carbon, so we need to do what? We need to multiply moles with Avogadro constant, right? And this is what? 0.833 multiplied with 6.023, 10 raised to the power 23. So it will give you what? If we do this, so it will give you what? 5.02, 10 raised to the power 23 number of carbon atoms, right, Bacho? Right, Bacho?
Yes.
Okay, then just find out the number of atoms for your practice. Just do it quick. For example, if I give you 2 questions, you have 100 gram of magnesium. Just find out the number of atom in this. And for example, you have 160 gram of iron. So find out the number of atom in these 2 questions. Just do it quick, Bacho, just for your practice. For example, Bacho, I just gave you something like, for example, if I gave you the volume, now just connect your informations with the new questions, right? Remember the previous questions as well. For example, if I gave you 1 20 centimeter cube of chlorine gas. For example, I just gave you 120 centimeter cube of chlorine gas and I'm asking for number of atoms. I'm asking for number of atoms. Just look at over here. I gave you what? I gave you the volume of a gas, and a gas is in the molecular form. You can see that this is molecule, not atom. So first of all, we need to find out molecules. Then we need to find out atoms, right? And before this, we need to find out moles, right? So the first step is what? The first step is moles. And we know that if the volume in centimeter given by the examiner to you, you can divide it by 24,000 to get the number of moles. So it is 120. So you can divide it by 24,000, you will get the number of moles. Because we know that any gas at room temperature and pressure will have 24,000 volume in 1 mole, right? In centimeter cube. So 120 divided by 24,000, you will have what? 0.005 moles. Once you will get the number, once you get the number of moles, you can find out the number of molecules. You can find out number of molecules. If you want to find out the number of molecules, so we know that you can find it by moles into Avogadro constant, right? So mole is 0.005. You can multiply it with by 6.023 10 raised to the power 23. So you will get what? Number of molecules, right? So the number of molecules right now is 0.03 10 raised to the power 23 number of molecules, right? But we need to find out what, Bacho? We need to find out number of atoms, right? We need to find out number of atoms. These are actually number of molecules. And we know that in each molecule of chlorine, we have 2 atoms of chlorine, right? We have 2 atoms of chlorine. So simply, if you want to find out the number of atoms, so you can multiply the number of molecules by the number of atoms present in each molecule. You can multiply it by 2, so you will get 0.06 into 10 raised to the power 23. Is that clear, Bacho? I just do all
Sir,
this
एक सवाल है
जी
सर, जैसे कि आपने यहाँ पर लिखा 0.06 into 10 की पावर 23, तो हम लोग से इसको ऐसे लिख सकते हैं 6 into 10 की पावर 21
का 3 10 raised to the power 21 बोल रहे हैं आप?
यस सर
जी लिख सकते हैं आप, बिल्कुल लिख सकते हैं. ठीक है, actually I don't have a scientific calculator right now. I'm just doing this with a simple calculator of my mobile. So that is why I'm not multiplying the power of 23 now. That's why I'm writing in this way. So you can even write in the scientific notations now. You can write this answer like 6 10 raised to the power 21. That will be fine, right? ठीक है बेटे?
यस सर
Okay, so every one of you, I think you got this question very well. So can you do 2 questions for your practice and for me as well? And the question is, for example, if you have 10 decimeter cube of carbon dioxide gas, and for example, if you have 100 centimeter cube of sulfur trioxide gas, just find out the number of atoms over there in these volume of the gases. Just do it quick. So let's talk about some homework questions, and the homework questions are actually related with the step, or you can say that the level 3 questions, right? So I'm giving you actually the equations and giving you something to find out in the terms of number of atoms. For example, if you have like sodium, the same question we did in the start of the class, right? You are adding it into the water, you will get what? Sodium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. This is actually what we have to start with, right? So for example, again, the same value in grams I am giving to you, right? It is sodium 50 grams. It is given to you in the form of mass, and I want to ask about number of atoms of hydrogen gas going to be produced. Now, this time we're not going to find out the volume, you are going to find the number of atoms of hydrogen which is going to be produced. Same as it is. For example, the question is given to you in, you already did this in today's class, iron oxide reacting with 3 carbon monoxide, forming 2 iron and 3 carbon dioxide. So you know that I gave you 100 grams in the start, and I asked for the volume of I asked for the volume of carbon dioxide. Now again, I just want to ask number of atoms again over here of carbon dioxide gas. So it is going to be changed. Now you need to find out this as well. And for example, question number three is, for example, you are passing hydrogen gas from copper oxide and you will having what? Pure copper with water molecules. For example, this was given to you and I think I gave you 100, I think, and I want to ask the number of atoms. Yeah, it's number of molecules, sorry. Number of molecules of hydrogen gas. Right, bacho? This is the question that you have in today's class. Right?
Yes, sir.
Any problem to any one of you? Is that clear? These are actually 3 questions that you need to solve. Right? Question number 1, question number 2, and question number 3. Right, bacho?
सर
Yes, sir.
जी बेटे.
सर क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 हमें एटम्स निकालने हैं मॉलिक्यूल्स निकालना है.
क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 में देखो मैंने लिखा है मॉलिक्यूल्स ना, तो यू नीड टू फाइंड आउट द मॉलिक्यूल्स ओवर हियर, क्योंकि अगर एटम करते रहेंगे तो ऐसा ना हो कि आप लोग एटम ही सीख जाएं, मॉलिक्यूल भूल जाएं. दैट्स व्हाई मैंने तीसरे वाले में मॉलिक्यूल कर दिया. ठीक है?
ओके सर.
So बच्चों, you
Classroom.
can take the picture of this homework and you can do this as quick as you can, and then you need to send these questions on the WhatsApp so I can check कि आप